Every ending tells a story, but not every story ends the way people expect. The greatest shock is often not the moment someone walks away. The greatest shock comes much later, when the person everyone believed would return never looks back again. There is a quiet kind of ending that changes everything. No dramatic goodbye, no final argument, no desperate message asking for another chance. Just silence, just distance, just a life moving forward without the person who once believed they would always have another opportunity to make things right. That silence is far more powerful than most people realize. It has the ability to force questions that can no longer be avoided. It can awaken memories that were ignored for years. It can turn confidence into doubt and comfort into regret. Many people believe relationships only end when love disappears. The truth is often much different. Love can survive disappointment for a very long time. It can survive mistakes, misunderstandings, broken promises, and difficult seasons. But there comes a point where the heart becomes too tired to keep carrying the weight alone. It is not because love suddenly vanished. It is because hope slowly ran out. That moment is rarely loud. It happens quietly, day after day. One ignored feeling after another. One broken promise after another. One apology without change after another. Until the person who once gave endless chances finally decides that protecting their own peace matters more than waiting for someone else to change. That is the moment many people never see coming. They become so comfortable with someone's patience that they mistake it for permanence. They believe kindness has no limit. They assume forgiveness will always be available. They think another conversation, another apology, or another promise can fix everything whenever they choose. But life does not always offer unlimited chances. Some doors close without anger. Some hearts stop waiting without making an announcement. The person who leaves is often not the one who gave up first. They are usually the one who kept trying long after hope should have ended. By the time they finally walk away, their decision has been growing inside them for weeks, months, or even years. To everyone else, it looks sudden. To them, it feels overdue. That is why the silence after they leave carries so much weight. It is not empty. It is filled with every conversation that never led to change, every tear no one noticed, every effort that slowly disappeared without being appreciated. When someone reaches that point, they are no longer trying to punish anyone. They are trying to save themselves. What makes this even more fascinating is that psychology has long shown that people often recognize the true value of something only after it is gone. The human mind easily adapts to what it sees every day. Constant love becomes expected instead of appreciated. Daily kindness becomes ordinary instead of extraordinary. Emotional support becomes invisible because it is always available. This is known as a form of psychological adaptation. People stop noticing the very things that make their lives better because those things become part of their normal routine. Then one day, that routine disappears. The morning message never arrives. The comforting voice becomes silent. The person who always understood them is no longer there. Suddenly, what felt ordinary becomes impossible to replace. That is when regret begins to grow. Not because the relationship ended overnight, but because the mind finally sees what the heart overlooked for so long. In this video, you will discover why walking away often creates a much deeper emotional impact than endless arguments ever could. You will learn why silence can become louder than words, why delayed regret is one of the strongest emotions the human mind can experience, and why some people spend years searching for peace after losing someone they believed would never leave. We will explore the hidden psychology behind taking people for granted, the emotional patterns that keep replaying long after a relationship has ended, and the surprising reason why the person who walked away is often the one who heals first. You will also discover why new relationships cannot always replace genuine emotional safety, why guilt grows stronger with time instead of fading away, why permanent loss changes the brain in ways most people never expect. These are not simply opinions or dramatic ideas. They reflect emotional patterns that psychologists have studied for years and experiences that countless people recognize only after it is too late. By the end of this video, you may see relationships, regret, healing, and personal peace from an entirely different perspective. The most important lesson is not about making someone miss you. It is not about revenge, proving a point, or making another person suffer. Those ideas may create temporary satisfaction, but they rarely create lasting peace. This video is about understanding human behavior. It is about recognizing the difference between love and habit, between forgiveness and permission, between patience and self-respect. It is about understanding why some people continue repeating the same mistakes until consequences finally force them to change. It is also about understanding why walking away is sometimes the healthiest decision a person can make, even when it breaks their own heart. There are moments in life when staying feels easier than leaving, yet leaving becomes the only path toward healing. That decision often looks cold from the outside, but inside it is usually the result of countless invisible battles that no one else ever witnessed. As this journey unfolds, you will begin connecting pieces that often remain hidden during the relationship itself. Small behaviors that once seemed unimportant start revealing a much larger pattern. Words that were ignored begin carrying new meaning. Choices that appeared harmless begin showing lasting consequences. Step by step, you will see how emotional distance grows, why people overlook warning signs, and why the greatest regrets are rarely caused by one single mistake. They are usually built through hundreds of small moments where appreciation was replaced by assumption, and effort was answered with indifference. Understanding these patterns does more than explain the past. It helps protect the future. It teaches us how healthy relationships are preserved, how trust slowly disappears, and why genuine peace can never exist where respect is missing. Stay with us until the very end, because the final insight brings everything together in a way that many people never consider. It explains why the person who finally walks away often finds the peace that once seemed impossible, while the one left behind may continue searching for answers long after the relationship has ended. That single realization has changed the way countless people understand love, loss, and emotional growth. Welcome to our channel, where we explore the hidden psychology behind relationships, human behavior, and personal transformation. If you enjoy thoughtful discussions that help you see people and yourself more clearly, make sure to subscribe and join our growing community, because the lessons you discover here may change the way you see every relationship from this day forward. One of the biggest mistakes people make in relationships is believing that kindness will always be there. At first, your patience feels rare. Your understanding feels comforting. Your willingness to forgive makes the other person feel lucky to have you. They notice every thoughtful message, every second chance, every time you choose peace instead of another fight. But the human mind has a remarkable ability to adapt. What once felt extraordinary slowly becomes ordinary. Psychologists often describe this as adaptation. People naturally become used to positive experiences over time, and unless they make a conscious effort to remain grateful, they stop noticing the value of what they receive every day. This doesn't always happen because someone is cruel. Sometimes it happens because familiarity changes perception. The very qualities that made someone special become part of the background. Instead of feeling grateful that you stayed, they begin expecting you to stay. Instead of appreciating your forgiveness, they assume forgiveness is guaranteed. Instead of recognizing your sacrifices, they stop seeing them altogether. This shift is so gradual that neither person notices it while it is happening. One person keeps giving because they hope their love will eventually be understood. The other keeps taking because they believe tomorrow will offer another chance to make things right. This is where emotional distance quietly begins. Every ignored apology, every promise that is broken, every conversation that ends with temporary change instead of lasting effort leaves a small mark on the heart. Those marks are often invisible from the outside. The person who keeps forgiving may still smile, they may still answer messages, they may still support the relationship. But inside, disappointment begins collecting like drops of water filling a glass. One drop seems harmless, 2 drops seem manageable, even 100 drops may not appear to change anything. Yet eventually the glass reaches its limit. The final drop is rarely the biggest problem. It simply arrives when there is no room left. This is why people are often confused when someone suddenly walks away. They focus only on the last disagreement, without realizing that the real decision began forming long before that day. Leaving is often not the result of one painful moment. It is the result of countless moments where love was given, but appreciation slowly disappeared. Many people assume they will always have another opportunity to fix what they neglected. They tell themselves they will become more attentive next week. They believe one heartfelt apology can erase months of emotional neglect. They expect that because someone loved them deeply yesterday, they will continue loving them the same way tomorrow. But love is not sustained by promises alone. It survives through consistent actions. Every time concern is dismissed, every time feelings are minimized, every time effort is taken for granted, trust becomes a little weaker. The painful truth is that patience should never be mistaken for unlimited endurance. A person is not someone who feels less pain. They are someone who chooses understanding again and again despite the pain they already carry. That choice requires emotional energy, and emotional energy is not endless. Eventually, the strongest heart becomes tired of carrying a relationship alone. By the time they stop trying, it is not because they stopped caring. It is because caring without change became too exhausting to continue. Then something unexpected happens. The arguments stop. The repeated conversations disappear. The emotional chasing comes to an end. For many people, this silence feels confusing because they had grown comfortable with conflict. Arguments became part of the relationship. As long as someone continued complaining, crying, explaining, or asking for change, it meant they were still emotionally invested. Every disagreement carried hidden hope because it showed that someone still believed the relationship could improve. But silence changes everything. Silence removes the emotional noise that once distracted both people from facing reality. There are no more late-night explanations, no more repeated promises, no more desperate attempts to be understood. Only quiet, only space, only the absence of someone who once filled every corner of daily life. That silence often becomes louder than every argument that came before it. During conflict, people focus on defending themselves. They search for excuses. They prepare their next response instead of listening. Pride becomes stronger than understanding. But silence offers no one to argue with. There is no conversation to interrupt, no accusation to reject, no emotional battle to win. The mind is left alone with memory. It begins replaying old conversations from a completely different perspective. Words that once seemed unimportant suddenly carry enormous weight. The requests that were ignored become impossible to forget. The moments that received little attention return again and again because there is finally enough quiet to hear them. This is one reason silence can create a stronger emotional impact than confrontation. It forces reflection without providing an escape. As days pass, another psychological process begins to unfold. Regret rarely appears immediately. During a relationship, routines often hide value. Daily acts of kindness blend into ordinary life. A caring message becomes expected. A comforting presence becomes part of the environment. The brain naturally pays less attention to experiences that happen repeatedly. Only after those experiences disappear does the mind recognize how meaningful they truly were. Suddenly, the smallest memories become the strongest ones. A simple smile across the room, a reassuring hand during difficult moments, someone remembering tiny details no one else noticed, quiet support during stressful days. These memories return with surprising intensity because the brain compares present emptiness with past comfort. Loss has a unique way of increasing appreciation. Things that once seemed ordinary begin feeling priceless simply because they no longer exist. This explains why people often say they realized someone's value only after losing them. It is not always because their feelings suddenly became stronger. It is because absence removed the comfort that allowed appreciation to fade. What was once always available is now impossible to reach. Human psychology places greater emotional value on what cannot easily be recovered. That is why delayed regret often grows stronger over time instead of disappearing. The longer someone lives without the emotional safety they once overlooked, the clearer its importance becomes. They may meet new people. They may fill their schedule with distractions. They may convince themselves they have moved on. Yet genuine emotional security cannot be replaced simply by finding another relationship. Attention is everywhere. Deep connection is rare. Compliments are easy to receive. Feeling completely understood is much harder to find. Being surrounded by people does not guarantee feeling emotionally safe. Many discover this only after losing the one person who consistently offered acceptance, without demanding perfection. Meanwhile, the person who chose to walk away is changing in ways the other person never expected. Healing is never just about recovering from pain. It reshapes identity. Someone who once begged to be understood begins learning to understand themselves. Someone who constantly questioned their worth begins recognizing their own value without needing another person's approval. The need for constant reassurance slowly disappears. Stronger boundaries replace endless sacrifice. Confidence quietly grows where insecurity once lived. This transformation is difficult for others to recognize because it happens gradually. They often expect the same person to be waiting if they ever decide to return. But healing changes people. The version they remember no longer exists. The individual who once tolerated neglect has become someone who protects their peace. The person who accepted broken promises has learned to trust actions more than words. That quiet transformation becomes one of the greatest surprises for anyone who believed they would always have another chance. As we reach the end of this discussion, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Many people go through life believing they have unlimited chances. They assume the people who love them will always stay. They think forgiveness will always be available. They believe there will always be another tomorrow to apologize, another opportunity to change, and another chance to make things right. But life rarely works that way. Love can survive mistakes. It can survive misunderstandings. It can even survive disappointment for a very long time. What it cannot survive forever is a lack of respect, effort, and appreciation. When one person continues giving while receiving very little in return, love slowly turns into exhaustion. The relationship may still exist on the surface, but deep inside, the emotional connection begins to fade. Eventually, there comes a moment when the person who carried the weight for so long decides to put it down and walk away. What makes this so painful is that the realization often comes too late. Many people do not recognize the true value of someone while they still have access to them. They only see that value after the messages stop, after the conversations end, and after the person they once took for granted has built a new life filled with peace, growth, and self-respect. By then, the opportunity they assumed would always be there is gone. The lesson is not about making someone regret losing you. It is about understanding the importance of appreciating people while they are still part of your life. It is about recognizing effort before it disappears. It is about choosing gratitude before loss becomes the teacher. Because sometimes the deepest regret is not losing someone. It is realizing you had something rare and failed to protect it. Remember this. The greatest loss isn't when someone walks away. It's when you realize they found the peace you never appreciated without you. If this video spoke to you, take a moment to support the channel. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our future videos about relationships, psychology, emotional growth, and human behavior. Also, don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who might need to hear this message today. And before you go, let us know in the comments. Do you believe people truly change after losing someone, or do they simply learn to live with regret? Your thoughts could help someone else who is going through the same experience. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.